All right, welcome back, everyone, to Casual Sports Fans. We're coming right back at you guys with our weekly sports review. We're going to be focusing mostly on the NBA because the playoffs happened. There's been 2 Game 7 since our last episode, and both were epic, and we're so excited to talk about those. There's some Pine Tar stuff going on with the MLB, and pitching, we'll touch on that a little bit, too. Nothing's really going on in the NFL, blah, 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 Aaron Rodgers drama. But without further ado, let's roll the intro. All right, everybody, so welcome back. We're actually kind of on time, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe we missed a week, but it is so good to be back, and it's so good that my Bucks won the series. That Game 7 was awesome. KD looked unstoppable. The Bucks played gritty and tough, and just talking to you guys about it, what are your initial reactions from this series?
My initial reactions from the series is just that it was a great series overall. Yes, we didn't get Kyrie Irving for much of the series, but it still was a very competitive series, as we could see to the end. And I think looking at this game, we don't think we should say anything bad about Kevin Durant because he was so great this game. He was a shoe size or 2 away from winning this series. So I think Kevin Durant showed that he was a stud this series, even though he didn't carry this team to the conference finals, but also I think this is just kind of the Giannis series. Giannis played great this whole series. He silenced the doubters. He showed he could step up to the big moments.
I'm sorry to rain on the parade, but if Kyrie and James Harden were fully healthy, the Nets are going to win that series.
I agree. Yeah.
No one is beating the Nets.
But I actually kind of I think as an NBA fan, you kind of have to root for the Nets to lose in that game just because now the Western Conference Finals series are really competitive because you can make an argument that any of the teams, except, maybe the Hawks, have a legitimate shot at winning the championship this year. Someone between Trae Young, Giannis, Paul George, and Chris Paul and Devin Booker are going to get their first ring. Someone is guaranteed to get their first ring. A franchise who hasn't won since the 1970s is guaranteed to get their first championship. These NBA Finals, even though it's not LeBron James versus the super team of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden, it's probably a lot more interesting, even if I'm not sure if it's going to get as many viewers unless there's a Game 7.
I think it is pretty awesome. These are the best NBA playoffs I can remember watching, in my lifetime. That I actually paid attention to. Not the best, series or anything, because, Cavs Warriors, I did see that. But at the same time, that game was so epic in the sense of, it just kept going back and forth. And being a Wisconsin sports fan and seeing this happen to my teams every single year, as I'm watching that, James Harden throws up some ridiculous 3 off the side of the backboard as the shot clock expires. And I'm like, I think it put the Nets up 5. And I'm like, all right, this is where it gets away. This is where, Brooklyn's going to go on a 10-0 run. We're going to lose. They fight back. Connaughton hits 3. Then Kevin Durant, down the stretch of the game, he hits some ridiculous turnaround shot. He scores 7 points in the last minute to tie the game. And I'm just like, this is where they're going to lose. But they just kept responding, and that was so, so impressive to me. And then in overtime, they give up 4 offensive rebounds on the same possession. Just stop after stop after stop after stop. Yes, it helped that Joe Harris could not hit the side of a barn. Brook Lopez comes up with an awesome block on KD down the stretch. And they just continued to respond, and it was really refreshing to see. And I'm so happy that, the Giannis criticism can stop. Everyone this whole series, Giannis has no bag, blah, blah, blah. Giannis can't create his own shot. And he just goes out and puts up 40, 10, and 5 every single night, at a bare minimum. But another takeaway from this series is, and I'm not saying he's better than LeBron, but I'm saying the debate is, open now after watching. Yes, after watching that. He's not better, but, there is an argument to be made. Because after watching that, it genuinely felt like no matter how great of defense PJ Tucker or Giannis or Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday played, he was just gonna score. He was unstoppable. It was the most ridiculous performance I've ever seen. He put his team on the back. He scored 135 plus points in the final 3 games of the series, which is just unreal. And my respect for Kevin Durant has grown. I still hate him I still like despise his decision to go to Golden State, and I despise his decision to like make that Nets super team. I'm so happy they lost, but I definitely like you have to tip your hat to KD and say, okay, like that was awesome what you did. That was incredible. I've never seen anything like that in my entire life.
I mean, one game that you really have to look into when looking at KD's greatness was Game 5. He put up 49 points and had triple-double, 17 rebounds. Like, that's crazy. That's almost unheard of. Yes, I mean, Devin Booker, we'll get into that game, put up a crazy stat line too. He's also great. But these are the type of numbers we don't really see from any player in the playoffs. Also in a big series, that gave him a big win, even though they didn't win. So, yes, I do think there is something to be said for KD being... You could argue that he's the best player in the league right now. I'm not actually sure if I would put LeBron over him at this point in time because LeBron's game on the offense side of the ball was playmaking, helps him big time, but the way KD can score at any point in time makes it very hard to put anyone over him right now.
You know, Kobe, he knows everyone's game. He does the detail thing, like he breaks down everyone's game. And he said about Kevin Durant that there's this one thing that he did that made it so that he had a weakness on his offensive game. It was like some move to like a certain side or something. One very specific thing that made it possible to stop Kevin Durant, and that's what Kobe said. And then he fixed it. And from then on, Kobe said, I have no idea how you're supposed to guard this man. Because when you have that pure athleticism with that height and wingspan, all you have to do is get up in the air, and you're going to shoot it over anyone in the league. You can shoot it over any center. And what is a center going to do? Block you on the perimeter? Like, there's something ridiculous about Kevin Durant.
It was just unreal. But, and like, a lot of people are going to disagree with me for this. You have to give, like, PJ Tucker some credit, too. Because, yes, KD went nuts. But it really did feel like, and I think this makes it more impressive, like KD was earning every basket. Like it was never like just some easy, wide open three. There was always someone there. And I think that's just like a testament to KD and how incredible he is at scoring basketball. But the Bucks get out with the win in that series. We're looking forward to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Hawks. And I'm just like so relieved. And I've never felt like this. I was talking to my dad about this the other day. When Tom Brady has the ball in the NFC Championship in the fourth quarter with the chance to put the Packers away, I'm like, he's going to mess it up. Like, he's going to mess it up. And, like, he didn't. But, like, as KD was dribbling down the floor in overtime, like, as they're chasing two with 6 seconds left, I was literally sitting there, like, shaking, just thinking, here it comes. Like, he's gonna do it to us. It's gonna happen. Like, it's the only way this series can end is with KD making some ridiculous step back three. And I have literally never felt that way before about, like, any athlete in sports. And as he's dribbling down the floor, I was, like, cowering in my basement, just like, don't do it. And that was like just a new feeling for me that I don't get a lot from like watching like my favorite teams play. Even though they lose a lot, like in those high pressure situations, I have never actually felt like here it comes. Like this is the end. I'm seeing like death in front of me right now. And it was unreal. The entirety of the series, like games 4, 5, 6, and 7, were all great games, which made it even better. Obviously, games 1, 2, and 3, not games 4. Games 3, 5, 6, and 7 were incredible games. Obviously, 1, 2, and 3 were like a little like further apart than you would want them to be, especially games 1 and 2. But that was just such an incredible series, and I'm so happy the Bucks won because no matter who we play next, Kevin Durant is not on that team. Like, there's no one else in the league who can do to the Bucks what he just did to them.
And that was a Kevin Durant who tore his Achilles, a year or two ago? I mean,
I think it's safe to say he's 100%.
Yeah, I know he's 100%, but when's the last time we've seen an athlete fully recover from a torn Achilles and play as good as they were before and dominate at the level that Kevin Durant has? Because the thing is, ACLs nowadays, someone tears their ACL, we don't even worry about it. It's like an 8-month recovery. Yeah. We see players tear their ACLs all the time. It means absolutely nothing. But torn Achilles are ruthless. Like, name a player that's come back from a torn Achilles.
I mean, was Paul George's torn Achilles? I don't know his exact situation, exact injury. That was
that like MCL or something?
I thought, I think that was an MCL. Didn't he also like break his elbow in that same thing? Or am I thinking too?
I think he like broke his entire leg.
Yeah, but
But
also, yeah, I agree.
Achilles is rough.
I agree with Andrew on that. I think a lot of the time before the season, a lot of people were questioning if KD would be the player he was before, and this series showed that he is more than what he was before. I mean, you could argue he's a better player than from before. And then going on to the other Eastern Conference series, talking about a player in the Sixers that will be joining Joe Harris and the Shanghai Sharks, Ben Simmons. I'm joking, but
Porzingis, Kyle Kuzma.
a lot of good options for Shanghai, you gotta admit. But I'm just talking about this series. It was a very impressive showing by the Hawks as a whole. If you look at the stat line without the exact statistics, you would claim that this was a good game by Trae Young. It was not at all. This was Trae Young's worst game of the series and the worst game of the playoffs for him. You could even maybe argue the worst game of the season for him.
But
the Hawks went through this. They played great defense on the Sixers as a whole. Kevin Huerter came out huge. The Red Mamba was great, and throughout you could see how deep of a team they really were. And to get this win with Trae Young shooting 5 for 23, it's a great sign.
You can say anything you want about Trae Young, but you cannot call him scared. He is 4 of 22 from the field, and he pulls it from the logo
and hits it
to put Philly out of their misery. Like, even though it was a great game or like a bad game for him, it was just it's just unreal to see that, because it's like he is like the opposite of what Simmons is, like from like confidence and like how he feels about himself. And like honestly, I kind of feel the same way about Trae Young as I do like when like I look back, and I mean obviously Evan might not feel this way, but like I like love all the old NBA stuff. Like I watch all of 30 for 30s, like I read about it. I'm like super into the old NBA era.
And like Simmons had 5 points.
Yeah, he shot it 4 times.
He took 0 shots in the fourth quarter of games 5, 6, and 7 combined.
0 out of 0 from the 3-point line, as expected.
But like this kind of like villain persona that Trae Young is building is like something I'm super into, and it reminds me of like Isaiah Thomas, not like Celtics Isaiah Thomas, like Pistons Isaiah Thomas, and like Rick Mahorn and like the bad boy Pistons. Obviously not to that extent as a team, but like it's kind of fun rooting for a villain every once in a while. And like Trae Young is just taking his team into like, you could argue probably 2 of the tougher, if not the toughest environments in basketball, New York and Philly. Like that's tough. No, it's not going to get much easier when he goes to Milwaukee.
He's taking on the villain mindset because the protagonist is the teams that he's playing. Like the Knicks, if you're a casual NBA fan watching the Knicks to win. Everyone wants the Knicks to win. So naturally Trae Young has to take on the villain role. Think about the 76ers. They've been like terrible for so long. Trust the process, whatever. So, and now all of a sudden they're 1 seed, and the Philly fans are crazy, like crazy. So of course Trae Young then has to take on some type of villain role. But you know what's interesting though? He's not going to be the villain versus the Bucks anymore. All of a sudden he's an underdog.
He's not taking it on, because like obviously it's going to receive like the villain role. Like he's like embracing it. He's embodying it. He's like, yeah, screw you guys. Like, I'm coming in here to win. Like, my team is going to win. Did. We are going to beat you. And he does. And that's so impressive to me.
And it's not just that. Like, against the Knicks, you could see them. Like, they were whenever they were chanting things against Trae Young, or they're saying bad stuff about Trae Young, he was happy about it. He was bowing to them. He was smiling at them. Like, that,
because he knew he was going to beat the Knicks.
That grin during the video, I don't know if you guys have seen it, of them chanting F Trae Young and him just smiling, is one of the most... I don't know. It just stuck out to me as one of the best NBA moments.
That's gonna be on kids' walls, like in their room, like a poster of that moment forever. Like that was awesome. Where he's looking back as like you see Spike Lee. Someone else was there. I'm pretty sure Chris Pratt was there.
No, I'm saying it's gonna be remembered like the Reggie Miller.
Yeah. Mm-hmm, yeah. And they're all pointing at. He's literally just looking over his shoulder, smiling, and like. That's been the embodiment of Trae Young these playoffs, and it's awesome. And I think, and I'm going to say this, Trae Young is a top 3 point guard in the league at this point. Like,
who is it? Name them.
Okay.
Steph Curry,
Dame, and then Trae.
Over Doncic.
Yeah, I mean, well, Doncic can be considered.
Trae Young has been ridiculous in these playoffs, but
man.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with top 3.
Like, maybe we can talk about Kyrie, but like Trae Young is like
I'd take Trae over Kyrie. That might be a hot take.
Trae Young is a superstar now. Like Trae Young is a superstar, and I think it's awesome to see that in the NBA and just know like when LeBron, when KD, when Steph, because I'd say they're closer to the end than the beginning. For sure. Moves on. We're going to have all these young stars, and it's going to be just as fun, which I think is really exciting. But we should move out west. And speaking of young stars, we saw the emergence of one on the Clippers in Terrence Mann. Obviously, they beat the Jazz. Did that series go 7 games, or was it 6?
That series, I'm almost positive went 7. I'm not going to guarantee it.
I got it.
Actually, I think it went 6.
I think it was 6
It was 6.
as well.
It was 6, yeah.
And then, like, Terrence Mann, like this random guy who's talking about how he didn't even make the G League team. He's coming and he's hitting every shot, and that was awesome to see, like, a new underdog player. He reminds me of, like, and, like, maybe, like, some people will have no idea what I'm talking about, but in March Madness, there's always the one random white unathletic dude who, like, on Loyola, what was his name? Crumpkin.
Well, he's
like
big body.
There's
center.
always a guy like that who just goes unstoppable. And obviously, Terrence Mann is not unathletic or white or like out of shape, but he just comes out of nowhere and he does the same thing. And I think that was pretty cool to see. And Paul George is playing better. He's kind of putting his playoffs like woes back in his rearview mirror. And the Clippers, if they can get Kawhi back, I think are a very, very scary team. And I would much rather, like, if the Bucks are going to beat Atlanta, I would much rather play Phoenix than LA because Kawhi Leonard is just a killer. And
wait, so it's Kawhi hurt right now?
He
Kawhi
is, but he
is
should
hurt
be
right
back pretty soon, I think.
So, okay. Who do you think is going to end up winning the series? Suns versus Clippers. As of right now, predictions.
Whoever
hear it.
wins tomorrow night's game is going to win the series.
Ben, we're taking a prediction here, Ben.
Hear me
We're
out.
taking a prediction.
We're taking a
just like
prediction
we
here.
did with Bucks versus
If
Nets, we're
Phoenix
doing
wins
predictions.
tomorrow, LA wins.
That's an if statement. We want to
Series.
hear
If
predictions.
LA wins tomorrow,
So-
Phoenix wins.
So that's an if statement. That's not.
So
a
Phoenix
when.
wins in how many?
Assuming Kawhi can get back.
I want you on
Assuming
the record.
Kawhi
Okay.
can get back.
Assuming Kawhi drops 40 and 15. No, we're going predictions here.
What's
if
happening?
Kawhi is healthy,
What's happening, Ben?
the Clippers will win. And I think and I'm gonna keep hating on the Suns team. If Kawhi is healthy,
hating on
the
them.
Clippers will
You know
win.
what's funny?
If he's not, they will lose.
All throughout the playoffs and stuff, and all throughout the season, from preseason from years in the past, you always hate on Tom Brady, and you always doubt him. You always count him out.
You always
and
doubt the
even then
Suns,
in the
too.
Super Bowl, you were given a redemption. We're both Packers fans. We're both
never
Packers fans.
compared the Suns to Tom Brady.
I mean,
ever again.
last year, I don't think we're gonna rule
You
the
keep on
Clippers.
counting them out, though. You keep on.
Last year, you
counting
counted them out. When they won 8 straight games, you went through their whole schedule saying they'd lose this one. You went through the whole schedule saying they'll lose every game.
At
If
some
they
point-
won,
at some
Kawhi is
point.
healthy, LA will win.
At some point, you have to realize
If not, Phoenix will lose to the Bucks.
that you need to stop counting someone out or a team out and just go with the flow because you got nothing to
We'll find out
lose.
next week.
It's not- okay, Andrew, what's your prediction?
Suns in 7.
I'm gonna take Suns in 6. This is assuming Chris Paul and Kawhi come back at the same time. I'm saying a Suns team without Chris Paul
Yikes.
and a Clippers team without Kawhi Leonard. I'm taking the Suns. If the Suns have Chris Paul and if the Clippers have Kawhi Leonard, I'm still gonna take the Suns in this series.
That's where
You may make bold takes.
How many
if you look
times
at this
has
team-
Kawhi been down 2-0 these playoffs? Like, how many times have we thought after his team loses game 2?
The Mavericks were not a legit team.
How many
They're
times have
Luka
we been like,
Doncic in a
this is
trench
Ben,
coat.
Ben,
Luka Doncic's supporting cast is Luka
reason the
Doncic
Mavs
in
are
a
ba-
trench coat.
The
Okay,
reason the Mavs don't win is because Luka is great. He's phenomenal. But
Who else is
the
there?
way he plays, his team
It's
will
the way
not
he's
win.
coached. The coach.
I think the way we're talking about this isn't the correct way. We're talking about, oh, can the Clippers this, can the Clippers do that? And we're not talking about the Suns team. This is a very, very good Suns team. You're doubting Devin Booker. Devin Booker just dropped a 40-point triple-double.
I'm not doubting Devin Booker. I'm just saying
doubting
if
Chris Paul,
Kawhi is there, what has Chris Paul done to make me not doubt him?
I mean, he's played great.
Playoff
He's came up
Paul
in big
George.
moments. Chris Paul is a great player.
If
I mean,
Kawhi comes back in the next 2... If Kawhi comes back before the series is 3-0, the Clippers will win.
hey, boys, we have another guarantee for bet against the Suns. We love these.
I'm saying...
We love these guarantees
saying
against the
if
Suns.
Kawhi comes back before the Suns have 3 wins, the Clippers will win
It
this.
was also Lakers in 5, and it was Lakers. What I'm saying is,
that one.
AD
We assumed that AD was going to come back the very next game, and he never came back. So that one's a little different. But Evan, right after this, you're going to put up a poll on our story on Instagram, Casual Sports Fans. Who is winning this series, Clippers versus Suns?
Assuming Kawhi comes back.
Also, another thing we have to look at is it's not just the top players. We're talking like this is a series between 4 players. It's not. The role players on the Suns team are way better than the role players on this Clippers team. You look at Jay Crowder. Jay Crowder's been great. He's got a flamethrower for 3. Mikal Bridges has been insane. He's a great defender. I mean, he's been defending Paul George. Did decently last game, and Mikal Bridges is a great defender, along with Cam playing well, and Cam Johnson off the bench. The role players around the top players, and I think this was a problem against the series with the Lakers. Ben was asking me, who was the best player on the Suns team? Oh, is it Chris Paul? Well, Chris Paul's not top 20. The problem is it's not just about the top 2 players. It's about the team as a whole. This Suns team as a whole is a hard-working team. They play great on defense, and it doesn't matter that the Suns don't have a top 10 player because they've won 2 different series. Then why do they sweep a team like the Nuggets?
The Nuggets, okay? The Nuggets
The Nuggets had the MVP.
Okay.
Is Jokic better than these players?
If Jamal Murray is healthy, the Nuggets win that series.
No, they
yes,
don't.
They do.
They don't get swept, but no, they don't win that series.
They win. Jamal Murray.
You can keep sleeping on the Suns.
We forget, you talk about the bubble and what the Suns did in the bubble. Like, let's talk about what Jamal fucking Murray did in the bubble. Jamal Murray went for 50 how many times? In 3 games?
I'm not doubting Jamal Murray.
Have multiple 50-point games.
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
it was in
doubting
the
Jamal
regular
Murray.
season. This is in the playoffs.
But before Jamal Murray got injured this season, he was good but not great. The Suns team is
He's
just
never
deeper.
been great in the regular season. Look,
This
I
Suns team is just
agree.
deeper.
Provide me with an example in the past 15 years where a team has won without a top 10 player.
You said that to me last year's with the Suns Lakers, and the Suns have won the last 2 series.
Provide an example of a team that has won a championship without a top 10 player.
Am I saying the Suns are winning a championship?
It has happened once.
Am I saying the Suns are winning a championship?
A weaker team.
I never said the Suns
I'm
are winning a
saying
championship.
it's going to catch up to them eventually.
I say you're underrating this team heavily. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying you're underrating this team heavily. Devin Booker is great. This team as a whole is great.
Bucks in 5.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
That one guy.
Hey, Suns in 4.
I mean, the Suns have played great. I give them my props. But if Kawhi comes back, Kawhi is a killer. Kawhi.
You know what
And LeBron was too. LeBron was too.
You know what I say that? You know what I say to that? Suns in 4. No, I'm kidding. Suns in 7.
Kawhi is more of a killer than LeBron is.
He really is a silent killer. Kawhi is
a killer. Like,
well, what if he comes back and he's not like fully healthy? You know, maybe he just comes back.
Then it's a different story.
You know,
but
we don't know if he'll.
If Kawhi comes back and can perform at typical Kawhi Leonard levels, the Clippers will win this series. We keep saying, "Oh, the Clippers are down 0-2. It's over." And then Kawhi comes back. He's like, "Hey guys, like, what's up? I'm down 2-0. Yeah, I'll take this. Clips in 6." Not necessarily for this series, but you know what I'm saying. So, I mean, that's the NBA, right? We're all on the same page that the Bucks are going to beat the Hawks. So, right?
No, one thing that we could talk about, I agree with Ben about that, is what should the Sixers team do? I mean, we talked about this last year after they got knocked out. We told them to
dismantle themselves.
But is
Get
that
rid
really
of every big contract except for Embiid. Keep Embiid, trade and release everyone else, and start new.
My question is, what can you really get for everyone else? Who wants Ben Simmons in his current situation?
Nobody.
You gotta just.
That's why they can't win.
What is the guy's name in the front office?
Morey.
Yeah.
You
gotta figure, like, Robert Morey's like kicking himself for 2 reasons.
Mark Helfholtz.
What would this Sixers team look like if they had Jimmy Butler instead of Ben Simmons? What would this team look like if they had James Harden instead of Ben Simmons? Like, obviously Harden hasn't been the best playoff performer over the course of his career either. But, like, just this Sixers team, it seems like they have so much and just continue to get so little. And they let probably 2 players who I think it's safe to say are better, like who at least in a playoff setting,
would perform better.
I would much rather have than Ben Simmons in a like in the playoffs, and they let them both go. And now they're paying the price for it. However, I would like to bring something up. I'm not sure if you guys remember this or not. Do you guys remember there was a clip from Ben Simmons' Twitch, like a couple years ago, probably, where he is playing Warzone or PUBG with Cat, and Cat is like, I'm gonna get off for the night, like I'm like, we got a game tomorrow, I gotta be ready. And Ben Simmons goes, who are you playing tomorrow? And Cat goes, the Hawks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Ben goes, he said something, he was like, you got nothing to worry about, or like something like that. And it's ironic how things come full circle. But I mean, if I'm the GM of the Sixers right now, like what can I get for Simmons right now? It's almost like I almost wouldn't trade him right now, because like let's say this about Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being LeBron. You know what I mean? Like, at least from a basketball ability, like, from that, like, view.
Not a mindset.
Like, obviously, no one's gonna have the same IQ. But, like, he's a jump shot away from being LeBron.
Great
and now,
defense, good handles, good
and now
layup
he's
package.
worth, like, what, a bag of donuts?
I was gonna say a bag of potato chips.
He's
like,
probably worth a bad contract. He's worth, like, Kemba Walker, CJ McCollum if you throw him a pick or two.
Speaking of which,
Kemba Walker.
Boston, what the hell? What are you doing? You traded Kemba Walker and a first for Al Horford and a second?
Well,
Didn't they used to have Al Horford like 2 years ago?
Okay,
too?
we'll go over this first of all. I'm not saying it was a good trade by Celtics. I think it was a huge win by the Thunder. We'll probably talk about this.
Dude, they're gonna flip Kemba for 2 firsts in like a week.
But the one reason you do this trade is all about cap space. Kemba obviously wasn't the answer. He was pretty bad.
Who's gonna sign in Boston?
No, I mean, you're right about that. But this trade was all about cap space. Don't talk about like a value for value. It was for cap space.
But you give up a first?
I mean, they gave up a first for Moses Brown. Was that the right thing to do? No. I mean, the Thunder, Sam Presti's a legend.
The Thunder are putting a lot of faith in this class of 28, man. Like,
To be fair, it's probably gonna be a better rebuild than the Sixers.
You gotta watch out for like these
hard.
6th graders in the gym. I was watching them sometime. Pretty good.
Well, honestly, it's probably gonna be people our age that the Sixers are
I
drafting.
mean, younger at this point.
yeah.
Put on some muscle and maybe
Need a bench warmer.
Hey, Sam
guys?
Presti.
you also need a jump shot, maybe some general basketball
abilities.
IQ.
Like, yeah, you know, but we'll get there.
Baseball players can do anything.
It's a process.
Trust.
But I mean, like, the NBA actually, like, as much as I hated it in the regular season, I'm having fun with it right now. So props to the NBA.
Well, you're having fun because your favorite team just beat us.
But like,
I mean, no,
even if they didn't,
game.
even
No,
if
the
they
NBA is the
didn't
best.
win, like, I would still be having fun. Like, I would still be having fun with the NBA right now. Like, I would be upset, obviously. Like, I'd probably be talking about how much I hate KD right now.
And the NBA.
Yeah, but like, I'm enjoying, like, props to the NBA, like, for this. Like, even though it took Kyrie and James Harden getting hurt, like, props to the NBA. But I think that's pretty much it as far as the NBA goes. There's not really much else to talk about. We'll talk about this baseball stuff going on with all this pine tar and all these pitchers like Garrett Cole.
Corbin Burns is terrible now, so that's fine.
Yeah, I understand.
He's been watching.
You know who's been good?
I've never
Craig Kimbrell.
Yeah, Kimbrell's still been great.
I have never said that Corbin Burns doesn't use pine tar. In fact, I've told Evan on multiple occasions that he does. But like right now, if I'm looking at the MLB and these pitchers are complaining about pine tar, and is it a coincidence that they say, we find tar, you're getting suspended? Glasnow goes out there without sticky...
He admits it.
Well, yeah, everyone uses it. He comes back and he's hurt, like the next day. And in his interview, he goes, yeah, I had to grip everything a completely different way. It was completely foreign to me. And, like, I think this could have something to do with me getting hurt. Like, whether that is valid or not, I think it is an interesting thing to talk about. Because it's kind of like, look, if a pitcher has to use tar, like, we give the batters tar. The batters can put pine tar on their bats to use their tool to play the game. So I think pitchers should be able to do the same. I definitely think there should be some regulation on it. And I mean, props to Trevor Bauer for, like, kind of blowing the whistle and this sort of stuff, but like at the same time, like what he just kind of made it like way worse because now everyone is aware of it, and now all these pitchers are like, Garrett Cole hasn't looked the same. Obviously, Garrett Cole was on the Astros. They don't like Garrett Cole, but like Corbin Burns hasn't looked the same. DeGrom is still great, but even DeGrom comes down with an injury, and like if you think DeGrom isn't using tar, like please watch him pitch. He touches like just because it's not his hat or his glove, he touches his belt. He touches his belt. I don't think he uses tar. Pitch.
I think he uses some because the thing
whatever tar sticky. I mean stuff,
against the Cubs, yes, it's the Cubs, but he struck out 8 out of 9 guys and didn't allow a hit in 3 innings. So I don't think
DeGrom is
hit a ball and play.
DeGrom is great. DeGrom is incredible, but like even DeGrom. Like I'm 99% sure he uses stuff. When I watch him pitch, you see him throw a pitch, just destroys a guy. He turns around, he grabs his belt. Like every pitch. And I mean, maybe it is just a habit, but like as far as the tar stuff goes, I do think that like I don't care if pitchers are using tar. I don't think taking away tar is the solution for like the lack of offense in the MLB. And I think the solution for that is actually like more like the hitters need to take on like the responsibility of like, look, all we have been trying to do since we got in this league is just hit ropes. Like I'm just trying to pull, like I'm trying to yank this baseball and crush it. Like hit a line drive the other way. you're a pro MLB player. You don't like the shift, great. Just hit a ball the other way. Rizzo gets the shift all the time and he bunts because he's smart. Like be a professional, period. Just like do what you need to do to adjust, like make an adjustment. And that's what is frustrating me more. Like the MLB should juice the balls again, I think. Would that be fair to say? Like when the balls were juiced and everyone is crushing the ball. It's fun. It is fun.
I mean, I don't know if the ball needs to be juiced. I think there's already like maybe 3 MLB players at 22 home runs. Yes, those players are just maniacs. Otani, Vladdy, Tatis. Those are great players. But I think where the ball is at right now, I mean, home runs are being hit. I think it's more, I mean, just the players changing their mindset, changing their approach when they get to the plate.
The MLB is just kind of like stuck in the limbo, it feels like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Listen, here's what I would do. Unjuice the baseballs.
Why?
Get rid of pine tar. Keep the shift. Get back to real baseball. Simple.
But I mean, that wouldn't change. That wouldn't change averages. That would. I mean, that's easier said than done. But as we saw with these pitchers' injuries,
the MLB literally juiced the baseballs and then unjuiced them. Clearly, they have power, Evan. You're underestimating the power that they have. You're like,
juice the balls again.
They can't. The MLB has been doing so much stuff, and they've probably known about tar for years. They hate Trevor Bauer for that reason. So don't say that they don't have the power to do stuff.
I never said that.
Because they yes, you did. You said it's not that easy. It's not that.
I didn't hear it.
Andrew.
Oh my God.
I was saying it's not that easy to change the hitting in the MLB by just juicing the balls. That would just create more home runs. That wouldn't change averages. That wouldn't change anything like that.
More home runs is more offense.
I mean, more home runs is more offense. But right now, all the runs are already
long ball. Okay? Everyone digs the long ball. I dig the long ball.
Do you hit the long ball?
I've got a couple long ball man crushes, man. The long ball is a good thing in the MLB. And I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. But I mean, who doesn't want their team to hit for more power? You know what I mean? Like,
it's probably just because the Cubs and Brewers can't get on base, so we can use a bit more home runs.
Keep baseball fun. Speaking of which, man, Willie Adames. It may be the worst team in the league, but coming up clutch. I mean, yeah, the MLB is fun. The NBA playoffs are more fun right now. I think that's why we focus the majority of the episode on
Well, because of the playoffs.
Obviously.
And there's a lot going on with Game 7s and stuff like that. And
these playoffs have been great. Hopefully, like, these next 2 series aren't bad.
KD's foot.
That was unreal, man. As I was watching that, I'm like, oh my God, like here he comes. I just see him shoot it over the outstretched hand of PJ Tucker, and I was just like, this shit is going in. Like, this is going in.
To be fair, it did.
And also, it just stuck. And I was like, sitting there because they didn't update the scoreboard, because I don't even think the people who were doing the scoreboard knew if it was a 3 or a 2 for like a really long time. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? what just happened? What just happened? What just like, was it a 3 or 2? Was it a 3 or 2? And I was so positive it was 3, and then it just kind of like all left my body, and then it came back in OT, but then it left again.
Yeah.
It was such a great game.
I heard there was a rumor that he used a bigger shoe size for aerodynamics and to jump high or something. Might have been a bit of a mistake.
Well,
he also has huge
2020.
feet. He also has huge feet, so
that really is unreal. Like he was, if he wears a 15.5 instead of a 16, we lose.
I thought you were size 18.
What? 17.5. Like it's just. It was an unreal series, and the playoffs have been a lot of fun. Sports are a lot of fun right now. There's not a lot going on with the NFL, right? Am I missing something?
Yeah.
Julio to the Titans, whatever we talked about.
Who cares? That's what I'm saying.
Packers.
He gets less production on the Titans. It literally does not mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, things are looking up for the sports world. COVID's almost done. We don't need masks anymore. I don't need a mask at work at Lifetime, but we're not going to get into that. Hate my job, but. Alright, I think this is going to wrap up this episode. Unless, do we have anything else to say?
I don't think that's pretty much all.
So this is going to wrap up our weekly sports review. It was a little bit longer. I thought this episode was pretty fun. Make sure you go vote on our poll on our Instagram, assuming Evan actually remembers to post it. Right?
He's got it.
I mean, we'll start posting on there eventually.
We do post on there. You just don't notice it.
Yeah, we have
I don't even think I follow or...
You don't.
You don't. We have like a dozen posts or something.
Yeah,
we got a lot of stuff.
I mean, you should follow our Instagram. We've got lots of good
player battles, player
Andrew,
profiles.
I know you never edit these, but let's edit a link right up here.
I don't know how to put a link in.
Not even a link.
Click
Just
on.
like,
I don't know how to put a link in.
Just put a picture of the ad.
A picture of what?
Our Instagram account. Just screenshot it. Put it right there.
What? Casual sports fans?
No, just put Marvin Jones for that.
Put Marvin.
That's a good.
Love Marvin Jones, man. We should make that our profile picture. But anyways, this is gonna wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back. We're full swing of summer now. Our high school baseball season is over. It's just summer ball and stuff now. So we are gonna have a lot more free time on our hands. Do whatever we want to do. Make more episodes. Have more fun. This has been Evan and Andrew from Casual Sports Fans signing off. Let's roll the outro.